You look in the mirror and realize that the lines on your face are not just marks of age, they are maps of every love you have given, every compromise you have made, every longing you have silenced. Society whispers that love is only for the young, that after decades of endurance, your heart should settle quietly into loneliness. But the soul does not obey society. It calls, quietly, insistently, for connection, for authenticity, for the chance to be seen fully, even now. The first truth is that desire does not fade with age, it only changes shape. You may long for tenderness, for recognition, for a companion who knows your history and accepts your scars. But late love will never be like the first. It is deeper, quieter, more demanding of honesty. It exposes the illusions you carried for decades, the masks you wore to survive. Second, late love confronts the shadow. It does not arrive to fill emptiness with distraction. It arrives to illuminate the parts of yourself you have ignored: anger, fear, loneliness, regret. Many flee from this reflection, mistaking discomfort for danger. But intimacy after a lifetime of self-denial is only possible when you meet your own shadow with courage and compassion. Third, boundaries are your liberation. The habit of bending, of pleasing, of compromising endlessly becomes destructive. At this stage, you can no longer afford to dilute yourself to maintain connection. Real love honors the self you have cultivated, not the one others demand. Fourth, patience is no longer abstract. It is the soul's quiet insistence. You must discern between fleeting infatuation and authentic presence. Time is precious, and the heart recognizes deception swiftly. Only those who have learned to wait, to observe, and to reflect can engage in love that transforms rather than consumes. Fifth, authenticity is the final requirement. Late love will not tolerate pretense. It responds only to truth, to vulnerability, to the willingness to be wholly seen. Every compromise, every unspoken word, every attempt to perform fades in significance. What remains is the raw, undeniable self, capable of connection that resonates deeply, finally, fully. At this stage, life offers a rare opportunity to love with wisdom, to be seen without masks, and to embrace the heart's remaining capacity with courage and honesty. The world may doubt the value of late love, but the soul does not lie. Stand unflinching. Face yourself. Let connection arrive in the space created by truth, reflection, and the courage to finally honor who you are. Desire does not vanish simply because years have passed. Many older women believe that longing and passion are privileges of youth, that the heart after decades should fold quietly into routine and solitude. But the psyche does not obey such societal assumptions. Desire transforms with experience. It becomes more discerning, more subtle, and more insistent. It no longer demands novelty or spectacle. It demands truth. The longing you feel now is not superficial. It is the soul's call for recognition, for connection that mirrors the depth of your lived life. For decades, you may have suppressed or redirected this desire, prioritizing family, work, survival, or social expectations. You have learned to silence parts of yourself, to accommodate, to adapt, to perform. In the process, your heart has been both generous and restrained. These years of endurance have shaped a self that is wise, resilient, and capable of love that is profoundly different from the impulsive infatuations of youth. Yet this same wisdom makes the soul impatient with illusion. Desire at this stage is intolerant of false gestures, shallow affection, or superficial connection. It manifests quietly at first, a moment of curiosity about someone new, a longing for emotional intimacy, or a recognition of a companion who sees your history without judgment. The subtlety is deceptive. It carries with it a demand for honesty and depth. The soul will not be distracted by charm, convenience, or routine. It seeks resonance. You may fear that this desire is dangerous, that it disrupts the carefully constructed stability of your life. But this is the voice of avoidance, not prudence. True desire after 50 is an invitation to honor your own needs, to acknowledge the parts of yourself that have been dormant, and to seek connection that reflects the authenticity of your inner life. Late love does not arrive as a gentle distraction. It arrives as a mirror. It forces you to confront the parts of yourself that have been hidden, ignored, or denied for decades. Every unresolved fear, every unprocessed grief, every suppressed anger, every longing that you turned away from now rises quietly to the surface. Many women spend their lives avoiding these reflections, believing that time, distraction, or companionship can smooth over the edges. But after 50, avoidance is no longer sustainable. The unconscious insists on visibility. The shadow you resisted as a younger woman, the aspects of yourself that felt unacceptable, inconvenient, or dangerous, has not disappeared. It has grown stronger in the quiet, waiting for recognition. Late relationships often illuminate this shadow with startling clarity. You may notice irritations that flare too easily, emotional reactions that seem disproportionate, or recurring patterns that you believed were resolved. These are not flaws in your partner or the world. They are signals from your inner life, revealing what you have yet to integrate. Many people confuse these confrontations with failure or misfortune. They retreat, blaming circumstance or seeking to control others rather than acknowledging themselves. But intimacy at this stage demands courage. It asks you to face discomfort directly, to sit with the parts of yourself you have denied, and to embrace them without judgment. Without this engagement, relationships cannot sustain depth. They become superficial exchanges, polite rituals, or temporary relief from loneliness. Shadow work is not punishment, it is liberation. By confronting the hidden parts of yourself, you allow late love to exist not as a distraction, but as a transformative experience. It becomes a space in which the soul recognizes its own capacity for vulnerability, honesty, and connection. What was once fear or avoidance transforms into understanding and acceptance, allowing intimacy to be real, profound, and sustaining in the final chapters of life. Boundaries in late love are not optional, they are essential for survival and authenticity. For decades, you may have bent, accommodated, and compromised to maintain peace, to meet expectations, or to keep connections alive. These habits, once adaptive, become destructive in later life. After 50, the self cannot afford dilution. Every concession that sacrifices your needs, every agreement made to avoid conflict, every compromise that erases your voice slowly erodes the foundation of who you are. Relationships at this stage are no longer experiments or rehearsals, they are encounters between fully formed, experienced selves. Without clear boundaries, the dynamics of power, expectation, and obligation silently govern the connection, leaving you depleted and resentful. Many older women discover that patterns repeated for decades resurface when intimacy requires honesty. The desire to please or to maintain comfort can undermine emotional safety, leading to subtle but persistent dissatisfaction. Boundaries do not mean coldness or avoidance. They are the framework in which genuine connection can flourish. They protect your energy, your clarity, and your dignity. They allow you to show up fully without fear that your needs will be ignored or your voice silenced. In late love, boundaries signal respect for both yourself and your partner. They are the vessel through which authenticity flows, making intimacy possible without compromise or pretense. By asserting them, you create space where connection is mutual, honest, and transformative, rather than exhausting or superficial. Patience in late love is not a passive virtue, it is a form of wisdom born from decades of experience. After 50, the heart has witnessed illusion, disappointment, and the fleeting nature of desire. It no longer responds to superficial gestures or quick infatuation. To engage in meaningful relationships now requires discernment, the ability to see beyond charm, convenience, or comfort, and recognize the essence of another person. Many women rush into connection out of fear of loneliness or habit, mistaking presence for understanding. This impatience often leads to repeated patterns, choosing partners who reflect old wounds, overlooking red flags, or compromising values for temporary closeness. The soul, however, moves at a different pace. It recognizes subtle truth, emotional depth, and resonance over appearance. Learning to wait is not a test of endurance, it is a cultivation of clarity. It allows you to observe interactions with honesty, to feel the authenticity of gestures, and to respond without distortion from past fear or desire. Patience also applies inwardly. You must allow yourself the time to process your own emotions, to reconcile with past regrets, and to confront unresolved aspects of your life. Only when you have created this inner space can you enter a relationship without projection or expectation. Late love, when approached with patience, becomes not a pursuit, but a meeting of authentic selves, each prepared to honor depth, truth, and vulnerability without haste. Authenticity in late love is not negotiable. It is the only currency that allows connection to survive and deepen. After decades of compromise, social expectation, and self-protection, the masks you once wore begin to weigh heavily. People no longer respond to performance, charm, or conformity. They respond only to the truth of who you are, fully seen and fully felt. Attempts to hide behind polite facades, rehearsed gestures, or habitual behaviors only create distance, frustration, and quiet despair. At this stage, authenticity demands vulnerability. It requires that you speak your truths, reveal your fears, and honor your desires without apology. It asks you to confront the parts of yourself that you have ignored, silenced, or denied for decades. This process can feel frightening because the stakes are higher. Exposure brings risk of rejection, misunderstanding, or pain. Yet hiding is far more costly. It prevents the deep connection your soul seeks, leaving relationships shallow and unsatisfying. Authenticity also requires self-honesty. You must acknowledge the patterns you repeat, the compromises you have made, and the emotions you have buried. Only by facing these truths can you enter late love fully prepared to meet another person without pretense, projection, or expectation. When you allow yourself to be wholly seen, without masks or illusions, intimacy becomes transformative, nourishing, and profoundly real, reflecting the depth of a life lived consciously and courageously